Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into his legs. So first off, I wanted to start with a remesh. And I'm just going to use this to kind of smooth everything out. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and go through the projection levels, starting at the lowest and going to the highest, like we discussed in the fundamentals video. And from there, I'm going to use the projection to kind of just kind of smooth things out. Okay, and so you see me kind of stretching out this area, and the reason I'm doing that is so that I can draw my mask as big as I want, or as tall as I want, and as low as I want, and it doesn't start to curve around because the mesh there ends. So I just wanted to give myself extra space, basically, to allow my masking to be a little bit more liberal. All right, and so now I'm pretty much going to use the same process to just come in here and grab all my meshes. So I'm going to go ahead and extract and start cutting this bad boy. All right, there we go. And I'm not taking too much time to align it completely perfect, but it's very close. All right, so I have my new mesh that I've extracted out of the clipped version, and I'm just going to go ahead and use our edge loops tool or method to go ahead and shrink this in. Beautiful. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and just go into a few of the other objects, some of the smaller objects. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and clip everything. All right, and you can see we're actually getting really clean meshes with this method by clipping around the edge of the first made mesh and then extracting from the outside of it. But again, like I said in the fundamentals video, the best way to do this is to use polygroups to paint a mask and then mask from polygroups. But either of these ways work, and it's sometimes situational. So I'm just trying to move these two meshes and make them snuggle together. And I'm working on the inner thigh now. And you notice, like, for most of this, I have most of the mesh hidden, most of the character hidden. And the reason for that is mostly limitations on the computer. If I have everything showing, it tends to slow down my workflow a lot, so I want to go ahead and not slow it down, so I just hide everything. But also, it's kind of hard to see what you're working on, too, if you have everything visible. So, there is a plus side to it. So I'm just separating this area a little bit just to kind of give the sense of depth that we want throughout the entire character. And so I'm going to drop a few parts of the leg down to the canvas, and I'm just going to use that for reference as I make this what I would say is a more detailed area. And you can see this area is going to be kind of the area that like folds out. it's going to fold out as he moves his leg. So all right, and so this process is going to go pretty quickly. The leg, that is. I'm just going to go ahead and clip around this and then clean up the inner areas that you can see that are just really rounded out. And I'm going to go ahead and cut all of this. And then just come in here and clean these up. And I changed them a little bit, but I just made them a little bit smaller. Alright, so I spared you the mundane process of going through that again, so we're just going to go ahead and move on to the lower leg, in case you couldn't tell. All of these meshes look a little bit silly by themselves. They look a little bit not like what they're supposed to be, but they are. Alright, so I'm just extracting everything. And then I'm going to go ahead and clip this out. And I went ahead and turned on ghost mode because I just I really wanted to see exactly what was going on. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the ankle area, the Achilles area as well. And I wanted to just go ahead and turn on each of these, each of the meshes I've created just to see what's going on. And you'll notice right now I really only have 5 subtools. I actually, when I start going into detail these meshes, I separate them out by body part. And so what I'll do is I'll have my head as one piece, I'll have the upper torso as one piece, since it's so complex. I'll have the lower torso as one piece because it's complex as well, and I couldn't really work fast by having them together because the mesh is so dense. So I'll separate those out, and then I'll separate out the arms and the legs. But actually, I have the lower leg separated out from the upper leg as well. And that's something you should just, it's kind of a preference for me. It makes it a little bit easier to work. But you can do it either way, really. Alright, so now I'm just getting this calf area, extracting that. And you can see I I turned off the smoothing entirely. And the reason I did that was just because it didn't really matter. It'd give me the sharper edges so I could cut into them easier. And the group loops would go ahead and smooth that out entirely for me. Alright, so just go ahead and clip that out. And it's looking pretty good, so I went ahead and hid everything else, and I'm just going to go ahead and make a new extraction. And it's going to look great. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and work on the other side. And one thing I could have done here is just gone ahead and mirrored the object I just made over and then use the move tool, the move brush, to kind of warp that into position. But I just felt it'd be easier for me to just make it again. It only took a few minutes anyways. So we'll go ahead and go and use group loops to smooth everything out. And then once we clip this down, we can just re-extract. I'm trying to keep these as rounded as possible. You notice being kind of round is really a theme with this character. With the exception of the torso, everything is pretty round. And that just comes from, it came from, well, reference kind of. But it gives a kind of a cool look, a cool bulky look, so. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make the under area of the calf, and this is going to do what we needed to do for the forearms, in that we just got to kind of fill everything in and make it so there's no holes in the mesh, or no holes in this lower calf area, lower leg area. So I'm just kind of moving this up a little bit. This may serve as padding, or it may serve as an extra metallic piece on the inside. I'm not sure yet. And it's not entirely important yet. Okay, and now we can move on to the feet. We can start by making this pivot here. Just use a really basic mesh, and then we can use the clip circle center to really get just a perfect cylinder almost. But I'm going to go ahead and stretch this out a bit so I can have more to work with. So I'm trying to line this up here on both sides. Then I'm just going to use clip circle center to clip it. And it looks kind of like clown ankles right now, so I'm going to go ahead and clip those away. And now I'm doing the same thing I did for the upper leg. I'm stretching this area out so I have more to extract from. Just kind of smooth it out a bit as well. Alright, so in case you can't tell, this is the heel that I'm working on right now. Since everything's hidden, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. I mean, it's easy to tell what's going on, but it's hard to tell at sometimes where we are. Alright, so I went ahead and locked the viewport just by holding shift and then holding shift after rotating, and it'll lock it into place. And I have perspective off, so I can cut along the bottom and make it be straight, and make it so it is completely straight with the ground, which is something I really want to keep. Alright, so I've clipped everything I want to, so I can now use the outside of this to make a new mesh, which I have already done cunningly. So now what I'm going to do with this, this is a bit of time saver stuff right here. This mesh is pretty much similar to the mesh that I have right there on the inside, the protector of the Achilles tendon. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and kind of move it around, move it into a shape that I like, and then just clip it. I'm just going to use the clipping brushes to kind of clip around this. Alright, so there we go, and here's our new mesh after I've re-extracted it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do that one more time. I'm going to rotate it again and use it for the front of the foot. And there's a lot of really complex folding going on in this foot. a lot of the shapes are going to be folding in on themselves, and so I need to kind of really pay attention to how that's going to fold and whether it would work. And I think that's something that's really important. It's something I'm trying to make work as best possible. Alright, so here I'm just gonna, I've made this little floppy mesh that you see in front of you, and I'm just gonna use it to make the final pieces on the front of the foot. And these are gonna fold in as well. It's gonna kind of be, the toes are gonna be a really complex area of folding. So clip circle center seemed to be the easiest way to get that perfect circular curve. And I just went ahead and measured the front of the toes to see. I wanted that to kind of align as well as I could, so I just went and measured it. And you can see we have a lot of holes going on in the foot. There's a lot of areas you can see through and a lot of incompletion. But that's not going to be a big problem, especially when we go in to start detailing the mesh. There's going to be a lot of details down there, and so it won't be a big problem. We'll put in the filler meshes when we need them. As long as they're there in the end, I think is the it's really the deal maker. So I'm just going to go ahead and clip around this again. There we go. Alright, so now I kind of want to create some light railing or some I want to give this thing the illusion that it has function, and since it's going to be folding, I figured that giving a rail to it would definitely help with it looking like the folding is purposeful. And I'm just trying to kind of show you how it's going to fold. So that's why you see that little track there. And I went ahead and did some of our cool edge manipulation. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and take this and extract two little lines. I use lazy mouse on that stroke just to get a really smooth line here. Alright, and so now we kind of have the illusion that this has some function to it. And I really like that, so we'll keep it. And now we just really need to work on the knee. You notice I don't have the leg in there. The leg is actually pretty much already made. The inside of the leg, I should say, is already made because we made that Z-sphere model at the very beginning. And what we're just going to do is we're just going to manipulate that. But there is going to be some kind of tubing in the leg, and there's going to be some kind of pumps in the leg too. So we can go ahead and extract this. And this is going to be our base for the knee. And after this piece, it's pretty much it. The basic clean mesh that we've created will be it for the leg. And we won't really need to create any more until we get into the intricate details. Which is, it's really, I gotta say, it's probably the funnest part of the whole process. Because it's maybe one of the easier parts, but it brings the character to life the most. So it's, I really enjoy it a lot. Alright, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and check the leg out, and it looks pretty good. Kind of imagining what it would look like with all the pieces in there. One final piece I guess I should add is inside the upper leg to plug the holes like I did with the lower leg. And you notice I did one for the feet as well, just a very basic mesh to put in there. And alright, looks pretty good.